Hi, everyone. Welcome to It's Not Just Magic. I am here with Wil Carlos. So excited to have you with me. Thanks for joining and being a part of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Will, share with us a little bit about your past and how you knew it was time to step into your passion as a business owner.
Yeah, so I'll share kind of the highlight and then the low point that I think will help make the point better. So I just recently did a distance energy healing session with someone, and the day after we did it, they let me know that the physical condition, I don't want to give any details because I don't want it to be obvious who the person is, but that the physical condition somewhat improved, that there was some movement, they were feeling a bit better. It wasn't completely resolved, but that there was a movement. And all that I did for that person was sit down and in a distance capacity, read them and shift things and clear beliefs and shift energy. Now, when I was a kid, it was the complete opposite because I was so in my head and in my emotions that something would happen with someone else, they would get upset, and I would be thrown for a loop. It would take me the whole day or the whole week to recover because I was just so emotionally and energetically vulnerable or open to the world. So I started a business as an energy healer because I was really tired of that. I was really tired of being so open, so vulnerable, so raw with the world and with others in the world. And I'd done tons of personal development. I trained as a life coach, trained with some really great organizations, and they gave me a lot of really great tools. So I learned a lot about great communication and things like integrity and things like boundaries. But it wasn't until I found a modality in energy work that I realized, oh, all these movies that I'd seen, the stereotypical uh, Star Wars and the Jedi moving the rocks and things, but then to more spiritual movies with maybe often religious figures, but then other spiritual movies, fantasy movies, where the hero and the guide were always so zen and just so calm and collected that I realized, oh, that's what's possible. I could marry these two worlds of the personal development and the spiritual energy healing work. And that's when I decided I would start a business as an energy healer. Broadly speaking, I don't usually call myself that, but that is the larger
Mhm.
camp that I'm in. So that's when I started it as a business, and that was about 5 years ago.
Sure, absolutely. And explain a little bit more about, go in a little bit more about what you offer through My Spiritual Clarity.
Yeah, so the main offer that I do is I work directly with healers and coaches and therapists, some executive coaches and CEOs, and I do live work with them one on one on Zoom and then also in group. And the main modality that I do is truth telling. So I call it bullshit detective. And we will sit down and they'll say, "There's this big problem going on. I've got this book and I want to promote it, but I can't seem to promote it." And I'll read the energy and I'll ask some questions and I'll go, "Oh, sorry, you don't believe that. You say that you want the book to be a big hit and you say you want to promote it, but actually that's a lie. You don't really want to promote it, and here's why." Or you don't really want to promote it, let's find out why. And that happens a lot as well, that I have to go on the discovery journey with the client as well. I don't always have that crystal ball where I see exactly what it is. Sometimes I do see exactly what it is, and but if I say it right away at the beginning of the session, they'll get pissed off and they'll leave. So we we have to go through the conversation to get to the end result. So that's the main part of what I do. I also do some distance energy healing, as I mentioned with that client, where a person can just tell me what's going on. I will sit and basically meditate and do energy work and energy clearing and pick up what's going on. And then I do group classes as well, where I'll be working with one individual to identify specific limiting beliefs around their business, around their healing practice, around their relationship with God. We'll shift those beliefs, and then everyone who's listening can also get the benefit of that same energy work or belief shifting work or limiting belief clearing work.
That's awesome.
Was that too
I
much jargon? I
No,
never.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
I think that it's really important to be to clear that stuff because a lot of the times, um, a lot of this, I feel like when we're running our own business, a lot of the times we can be the ones that are standing in our way from our own success.
Mm,
Um, either we're not either we're not focusing on the right, like we're keeping ourselves busy,
mm.
doing tasks or being at networking events and things like that, but we're not actually doing the tasks that actually generate the income. And
Yeah.
a lot of that I do believe comes from lack of confidence, lack of there's a feeling of lack somewhere. So we focus on those pieces that make us feel like we're doing something,
Hmm.
but it's the one but we're not doing the one thing that is actually going to help our business succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, we take classes on energy work or limiting belief clearing work, but we don't actually learn how to create a CRM, customer relations management system. That doesn't have to be, super technical. It could just be some names on a page, and you just like check in with them every month and see how they're doing. That is a CRM. That is a way of following up. It is a way of list management. It doesn't really matter what your system is, but you need something. You need some kind of something. So I agree. And I see myself do it all the time, which is why I have these systems and structures. And so I can look at, so I talk a lot about the 8 pillars of the imposter complex. So if there's a thing that I'm not doing consistently, and I know that I want to do it, I know I should do it, quote unquote, but I'm not doing it, I will look to that list of the 8 pillars and go, oh, procrastination, right? I'm clearly afraid of a specific judgment from a specific person who, oh, right, because if I make a post about the thing, then I'm afraid this client or this past client is going to say, who do you think you are? How dare you raise your rates so fast? Or whatever it is that I'm afraid that they're going to say. And then when I clear that and shift that, maybe something else pops up, or maybe that's the only thing. And then I literally will make the post, raise my rates, apply to that podcast, whatever it is. And I've seen it happen consistently. But yeah, it takes a lot of courage. And I don't mean that lightly. And I don't mean it in the way that we've all been so conditioned because of our industry of like, you're clear, you must not be willing to, or like you need to get more brave. Like that can be very diminutive, and that's really not what I mean. There's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of gray area, there's a lot of reasons which are not excuses, and it's not you playing, you as in whoever's watching, it's not you playing victim necessarily. It could be that you truly do want to, and there's just something that you haven't quite got aligned yet, and there's a journey to go on. It doesn't have to take a year or 6 months, but either you're over this is fun, either you're over honoring the journey. Oh, I just really need to wait. Mercury's in retrograde and the full moon, and I just my and Venus hasn't yet gone into alignment. Okay, you're over honoring the journey to an extent. Like some of that is I think very valid, or
Yeah,
you're under honoring the journey and you're saying things like, just do it. I got to like get over myself. I got to put myself out there. I got to get this done.
absolutely.
There's a middle path. And that's usually what I end up working with clients on is the middle path. Let's get out of this black and white thinking that we should have gotten over by the age of 12, and get into the gray area. Like, wouldn't it be great if our countries at a country, if we could get out of this either or thinking that like we should
Mhm.
have gotten out by like grade 5 and get back into like actual relationship with each other. But that gets onto another tangent. Sorry.
No, no, I love it. I especially love the fact that you brought up like, oh, Mercury retrograde, or the way that the something that's going on with the planets, because I do hear people use that so much, and it's like, yeah, okay, during certain times of the year or during certain, you should be more careful when
Hmm.
doing contracts or statistically or things like that, but you can't stop.
Yeah. It's it's very similar to I take it as the weather or how I plan my day. I do not plan tech problem solving at 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. I plan client sessions, or I plan creative time, or I plan time to like bust through a list. I do not plan time to fix my car. I do not, that is not my time to get like, I'm going to get overheated and boiled and I'm going to get frustrated. It's not going to go very well. That is not a time for that kind of work. So similar to Mercury in retrograde or anything with astrology. And I have a very close client, and she's a friend after the years that we've worked together, and she's totally on the same page. Like, yeah, it doesn't mean don't go. It might mean wait a minute, or like realign, or it might mean take an umbrella, or it might mean a lot of things. So that's what I mean. If to oversimplify and just say people either over honor the journey or they under honor the journey, and both are equally as detrimental and will lead to, oh, I need to update my website for the 100th time, instead of I need to actually get out and do some networking in a way that is still honoring of me, but actually gets to be in touch with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely I feel like you know, like I said, like working on the website or something like that, it's like it's easy to kind of hide behind the camera, if you
Yeah.
will, and just get busy with those things where, like instead of working on your website or editing your website for the 100th time, go out, make your sales, hire somebody to take that piece of it off your plate so that you can go be a genius in your area of expertise.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And there's that option. There's also the option of, because I'm guilty of this too. I am redoing my homepage for the, I don't know, 20th time. But for me, it's a messaging thing. It's not a design thing. I don't ever bother. I do the basic design, but I know it's not my wheelhouse, and I'm not going to spend much time there. But it doesn't dominate my week or my schedule.
Mm,
It's a discovery process, because I haven't figured it out yet. So God and I use the word, I say God, you say tomato. I hope everyone can catch my drift. Um, God and I are working this out, and God is still giving me downloads of, no, it's this, no, it's this. And I'm listening and I'm incorporating. And everything that I incorporate does get that new homepage closer and closer, but it's not live yet. I'm keeping my old one, as crappy as it is, until it is ready. It's a half an hour a week, maybe an hour on some weeks, and then the rest of my time is moving my other projects forward, because I'm clear that I'm not quite there yet with the homepage. Instead of, whoa, hold on, I can't get on that podcast, or I can't make my Facebook posts, or I can't reach out to clients, or I can't follow up with clients because my homepage is a mess. Yes, my homepage is a mess. Get over it. Everybody's sorry, maybe not yours, Cassie, because it's that's your thing, but practically everybody's homepage is a mess. Get over it. It's like your house. Just because your house is a mess doesn't mean you don't have your friends over. Still let your friends come over and clean your house. It doesn't mean you never clean your house. It just means it's not a reason to stop moving forward.
right. Absolutely. What's the one thing or one story that you can think of that has had the most profound impact on you and your business?
Mm. Well, that's kind of, there's two answers there. So the one thing that has had the most profound impact is what I call the helper's paradox. And that is, the helper's paradox states that the more a person needs to help, the less able they are to help. And I only kind of saw that pattern after working with over 500 healers from around the world, 28 countries and counting. And originally I called it the helper fixer saver thing, because I didn't have a better name for it. And then one day God blessed me with this download of the helper's paradox. Like, oh, thank God, literally, because that other name sucked. But I see it all the time. And when I look back, I realized that that was the big turning point in my business, because I was doing these free sessions, but I remember the day when I was leaning in, energetically leaning in, waiting for my chance to talk, because she needed an answer and I had the answer and I knew what it was going to be. And I realized that energetically I was pushing my energy at this potential client, and she was pulling back because I was pushing forward and leaning forward and talking fast. And I felt that energy, that fixer saver energy that I'd had my whole life, that people had tried to tell me about for a long time, that I had completely ignored or resisted or refused to hear. And I felt how gross it felt. I felt it in my body and my energy. And so I stopped. I asked the client for a moment. So I just said, oh, something came up. Give me a second. Because when you're an energy healer, you could do that thing, that kind of thing. And I realigned and I started pulling the energy, and I came back to her and we finished and had a great session. I don't remember if they signed up. That's not important to this particular story. Um, but I never again did that in the same way. Have I stepped into the helper's paradox? 1,000 times. I probably will 1,000 times again. It's a fine tuning. But that was the day I fully became aware of it and its impact and how much it was killing my business. This need to help, this need to fix, this need to be right. In For me, I have a particular flavor of self-righteousness and being right about things. So that changed everything. And that's when literally that was when clients started signing up for my free sessions. Before that, I was not having a very good sign up rate. And then clients started signing up and I started having a business. I started working and actually getting in the flow. So that was pretty huge.
That's awesome. Um, I love how you talk about the fact that could you recognize that energy, and then once you were able to recognize it, then you were able to change it. Because I do feel like there are just times where people will go through and they're just not aware of what they are projecting and what they are putting out there. And so and what could be considered or seen as off-putting
Mm.
by other people. And so I think I think that that's a really strong point of saying, like, I not only became aware of this, but then that allowed me to shift things around for myself, and then kind of restart that process,
Yeah.
and the difference that you saw.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of the times it's just a little bit of that adjustment and that realignment.
Yeah, and I think, or I know that it happens for all of us, but part of my journey in my life is becoming more aware in the moment,
Mhm.
even as we're in this interview and checking in and going, oh no, yep, there I started pushing a little bit. I started talking a little fast. I'm not okay. Now get back into pulling energy. It's right back to here. People would call it the power of now. I mean, I like the book, but I didn't find that was an active practice for me. So for me, pulling energy from every direction and pulling energy to right here and now, that gets me back in touch with, okay, oh yeah, those 10, 20 things that I've been thinking about, oh yeah, I can't wait to tell it. Let's check in. Are those stories that I was thinking of really the right next thing? Is it actually about asking you a question? Is it actually about acknowledging the super cute dog that I saw in the background a moment ago? Like maybe there's something else besides all those great things that I was thinking about saying. If I actually pull the energy, get back to right now, maybe those stories are still going to be the ones that I tell, but maybe they're not. Maybe it's going to change.
Right, absolutely, 100%. Um, so if somebody was wanting to start to develop their business, what would be the advice you would share? You would want, like, what's the one thing that you would share with them?
At what stage are they at?
What stage?
Like, do they just think, oh, I should start a business, or have they been starting a business, or where on the journey are they?
Let's take someone who's brand new, who's just
Okay.
starting out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Because I find that that's the reason why so many of us botch it, because we're applying techniques or methodologies that are for someone who's at a different stage.
Mm,
So again, with that just do it mentality, if you are at the very beginning stages and you go, yeah, just do it, just get the website up, get to six figures in 6 minutes or whatever the new thing is these days. It was 60 days and then it was 30 days and then it was 10 days. And now it seems to be 6 minutes. I don't know. I've lost track. So if you apply it, it's not going to work. Maybe for 1 in a million people, it's going to work. But really, if you're at the very beginning stages, it's a very different journey. So having some kind of modality, some kind of methodology, something that you like, that you feel really strongly about, that you feel very confident in, coaching or healing modality, whatever that is, I'm going to assume that whoever's listening has something around that.
mhm,
Excuse me. So then we'll say, you haven't begun a business yet, because almost no training around the modality includes business training. Very few. Some of them do. So we'll pretend that you don't have any business training. Here's the fourth thing. Here's what I would do, and here's what I eventually did.
mhm,
Start working with people. Doesn't matter who. Ideally, they're paying you something, but if it's free, that's okay, as long as there's an exchange for a testimonial or something, whatever it is. Just start working with people. If you feel aligned to accept money, great, go for it. When I did this, I started at, I don't know, 20 bucks, and then I went to 50 bucks, then I went up to 80 bucks. And then I said, okay, 80, that feels like a lot. I'm going to do 10 people at $80 and let them know I'm only doing 10. And after that, it's going to go up to 100. And then from there, and I just went gradually. For me, this is how I did it. And then here's what I would do with the people that you're working with. Once you've worked with 10 people, I want you to ask these 4 questions. Number 1 is, who do I love working with and who loves working with me? Second question is, who gets the best results when I work with them? Number 3 is, who pays me? And number 4 is, who refers me the most easily? And then after every 10 people that you work with, go back and answer those questions again. And you will very quickly start to notice a pattern. For me, it was, oh, they're all women. And so at first it seems like, well, that's not a super amazing insight, but yes, it is. That's half the population. Fantastic. Okay, great. They're all healers. Interesting. They're almost all healers, your coach. Wow. Again, this is a big realization. Oh, they're all of a certain age. Oh, they're mostly from the southern states and the Netherlands. That's a whole other podcast as to the connection that happens there. But you see what I mean? It's like after 10, 20 clients, you actually have way more data than if you go on a retreat to discover your life purpose. I swear to God, just work with 20 people. It's way more valuable. Now, the retreats are great. Go do that after you've worked with 20, 30, 40, 100 people. When I did this, I said, okay, I'm done up here in my head. I'm done on the meditation cushion in this area. I'm going to go get some dirt under my nails. I'm going to work with 100 people before I even again think about my niche or my target audience. So I went and I worked with 100 people and I gathered some data. And then I said, okay, now I've got some actual data points. I can actually see who's naturally attracted to me, who wants to work with me, who gets great results. And then very importantly, who pays me? Because I was really drawn to a certain group of people, but they didn't pay me money. They loved showing up. They loved asking questions, but they didn't pay me money. So I had to look at, well, who actually pays me? Well, oh, it's this group. Interesting. And they get great results. So that's a rinse and repeat kind of process.
There you go.
Very, very business answer for an energy healer. But I do, in my work with clients, I do a lot of business mentorship along with, like, it's mostly energy clearing, limiting belief clearing, because that's the real juice.
Mhm.
And you need a few business practices to move the business along so that the energy work has a kind of a foundation to rest on.
Right. Well, and I love the fact that you brought up the differentiation between who do I enjoy working with, who's showing up, and who's actually paying me.
Yeah.
Because I again, it's one of those traps that I think that especially with energy workers and psychics and people who are amazing at, like, they have the heart to want to change the world, and they definitely can, but it takes money to exist here.
Yeah, and that's why it goes in order, because the first one has to be there. You have to like working with them, and they have to like working with you. I tried for years. I put it in the wrong order, and I said, okay, who pays me? And that led me down some really weird paths for a while. So the first question is, who do I love working with? Who loves working with me? The second most important, who gets the best results? So those two really need to come first. The
Mhm.
order is really important. But you're absolutely right. They do eventually have to pay you. And then you can, so for example, I'm creating right now a free course that's going to be on my website. It's so not done yet, but it'll be there and it'll go through these questions and the 4 stages of business of your niche, your marketing, your sales, your follow-up, so that anyone who comes to me that's in that group that they love working with me and I love working with them, they get great results, but they just don't pay me money and they don't refer me very well. I will have something for them so that they're taken care of. It's off so that it's off my mind and my heart, because we are all bleeding hearts to some degree. So I like to have something for them. I've got 200 videos up on YouTube, but this will be a bit better organized so that they can kind of go through a mini course on their own.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So okay, so we've got about 5 minutes left.
Hmm.
Is there any other words of wisdom that you have for our audience today?
Hmm. Yeah, there's a million things. Let's see what spirit would like to be the most important rather than what my brain says is the most important. Yeah. One day I was walking through a forest in, it's called Windhorse Farms here in Nova Scotia. And I was waiting for my family to come in off of the canoe. And I had a little bit of time to walk around and just enjoy myself. And it was springtime, so it was just beginning to warm up. The bugs weren't too bad. And I picked up an acorn off the ground. And it was this perfect acorn, which is a little game that my family and I play with whenever we go for a walk. Whoever picks the most perfect acorn gets to win. And then we make up a prize. And I thought, this acorn, we've all heard a million times, this acorn will turn into a beautiful big oak, but it's still true. It will. And there's a garden in front of me, this gorgeous organic garden that they maintain. And I was thinking, why is it that now all these things that have been planting for a while are coming to fruition? These group programs, my niche, my website, like things are finally, for the first time in my life, they're actually growing. They're actually bearing fruit. Why is that? I thought, well, I've been planting these really great ideas and these really great programs, and I've been planting for ages. That has never changed. What changed? And I realized I changed the soil. And the soil was that I stopped hating myself. I stopped the inner critic and the procrastination and the overwhelm. I stopped hating on myself. I stopped the insane expectations, and I started loving myself, which I had never thought was the problem. I got gentle. When I missed a mark or missed a goal, I got gentle and just stayed on track. I didn't spend my energy beating myself up. I spent my energy getting back on track. So the soil was no longer poisoned every day. So the seeds actually had a chance to grow. And then all they needed was a bit of time and they could actually grow. So for anyone who's listening, who's at that place in their business where it's like, I've been planting and planting and planting, you got to plant with a little less impatience and a little bit more love and gentleness, and give it a bit of time, and it will grow.
I think that that's an awesome message. Um, definitely. Because especially we do tend uh, we tend to be our worst critic, and we also tend to be the person that will be the most hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just getting to a place where you're just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to um just focus my time and then because I feel like a lot of the times, I think I heard it one time where it's like you have the highs and you have the lows of your business, but when you can kind of keep yourself more centered
Mm.
during those highs and those lows, that just by you being centered, those highs and those lows are going to pass a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of it like the the blanket, the BS, the blankets of shame and the blankets of should, and the actual BS. If you wake up every morning with 10 of those on, by the time you get out of bed, you're cooked. Most of your energy for the day is done. So that's in the challenging times and the hard times. If you can just not wake up with all those blankets, it's
Right.
still a hard day, but at least now you have some energy to face it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Just really quick before we close, will you tell everyone how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website is myspiritualclarity.com, and you can also find me on Facebook, Wil Carlos, or it might come up as Wil A. Carlos. Those are my two main places. And yeah, for anyone that's listening that got my email from my list and you are live, make sure you do leave that comment to say that you've been live, because you know that you get an extra goodie for being here live. And yeah, I would love to connect.
Awesome, awesome. And for everyone, I'm Cassie Clayton, Stargazers Unite, creating brands, logos, and websites that help radiate your soul to the world. Um, Thank you again, and we will see you next time.
See ya.
See.
Thanks for having me.